What's up, everybody? It's Joe Lupuma. You were watching the Complex Sneakers Show. Unfortunately, I'm remote again, but I see my guys right in front of me, straight ahead, to my left on the screen, Mr. Matt Welty.
Yeah. We miss you, Joe.
I know. I gave them a little tease on last podcast that I would be remote, but it's something that no matter how you prepare not being with the guys, it still stings.
I'm sure.
Well, a little too sentimental.
I'm sure you're despondent. Thank you for the sentimental.
To my right, Mr. Brendan Dunn. I see the tag. I don't know if this laptop is 4K, but I see the stone. What is that? A Stone Island tag?
You see it?
That's how we're feeling.
Make sure we get the badge in.
The badge?
It's a Stone Island Christmas. Actually, I have a funny story about that. Do we have time for a funny anecdote?
Yeah, we got all the time. I probably got a lot of time today now, but
I guess I'll just ask first. And we talk about fake sneakers on here a lot, right?
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing, an interesting conundrum, and I feel like a lot of times we talk about it in hypotheticals. But if somebody got you a fake pair of sneakers as a gift for Christmas or for a birthday, would you break it to them, or would you just tuck them away in the closet? What would you do?
Wait, did you get a fake Stone Island jacket?
What would you do? Answer me that, and then I'll answer you that.
Oh, I feel like it depends who got it for me.
Mm.
You know, like I don't know, because it's like I feel like the people who are actually getting me gifts are like few, and it's like a very small condensed number of people. So it's like one of two people who's, I don't know, man.
Joe, if somebody got you a fake piece of gear or a fake pair of shoes,
what do you guys think I'm going to say?
I feel like you would not break it to the person. I feel like you would take that item and hide it away in the closet and say, "Yeah, I love it." But what happens when they ask you, "How come you never wear it?"
Exactly right. They're not going to ask that. They're not going to ask that. They're not going to ask that. That's exactly right. Oh man, I've been looking for these.
Yeah.
Right.
Gratitude.
Right in the depths of hell of the closet. Yes.
Not
buried.
Not that they would be the person getting
Yes.
it, but I feel like if your parents happen to get you something that you maybe weren't into, or
I'm throwing a fit.
No,
I'm
no,
calling my mom
opposite.
the
Oh, the
C word.
parents, yes.
No, just
no,
kidding. Just
opposite.
kidding.
I feel like it's the opposite.
I'm looking at JLP Senior. What?
I feel
Parents is different.
I feel like it's the opposite. I would say parents, you would just kind of like be like, "Thanks so much. I'm grateful for it, etc., etc."
No.
I'm flaming my mom.
I feel
my dad's not getting me shit, but I'm flaming my
Aunts,
mom.
uncles, anyone
could
else,
get it too?
cousins. No.
Okay.
Parents. I've been around. My parents saw the Ronaldo billboard in Times Square. They've seen sneakers. I mean, come on.
No, I'm saying I would think that parents, you maybe wouldn't want to say anything, but I feel like a significant other, you could say something to.
Okay. So it was my significant other, and we did a little early gift exchange.
And they got you a fufu something?
She got me a vintage Stone Island shirt, jumbo corduroy, kind of a grail from 1994.
Vintage fake?
Okay.
I'm into old Stone Island stuff, and I spend a lot of time online. I don't have a deep collection, but I got a couple things, and I spent a lot of time online researching and looking at pictures and thinking about it. And this is the most thoughtful, kind gift I could think of.
So wait, this is vintage Stone Island. So this is they used to do the RFID.
Yeah.
Tags
This is
on
1994. Yeah, this is green badge era, and it's kind of the thing with sneakers, right? Where I don't want anybody in my life buying me sneakers.
I've never, outside of being in high school, because I think I posted that picture recently of me in the shell toes. That's the last time I got sneakers as a gift.
Joe, do you feel the same way? You don't want anyone getting you sneakers? There's so many fakes out there these days. If somebody just bought a pair on StockX or off eBay,
you know what it is?
Tell me.
No one in my family or who's close to me would ever try to buy me a pair of sneakers. And I think that's the right way.
Same.
You gonna buy Michael Rubin a Fanatics Topps card? No. Well, you're not doing
the
that.
Michael Rubin of sneakers himself.
It's a funny topic because I know there's a lot of people watching this who they're waiting all year to get like not just the one pair of sneakers, but like a pair for Christmas, right?
I'm getting those texts already like, hey, where could I get these? And it's like the Travis Mocha one. Like, is this the cheapest? Like that's starting already because it's the season of parents trying to get their kids and I'm like, listen, this is the cheapest place. And they're like, well, I found it. And it goes in this conversation.
No, you didn't find it. You found
I found
something.
it for exactly. I found it for $158. And I'm like, that's not it. If it feels too good to be true, if it looks too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So I'm getting those texts a little bit.
Sorry, we need to get back to your story.
Oh, yeah, all good. Because all these things I'm happy to discuss. And I feel like price is one of the best barometers of like, this can't be real. But anyway, so we did an early gift exchange. I opened it up. I was super hyped. This is also old Stone Island shirt that Drake wore at one point, and I think that compelled a lot of people to make fakes because there was new interest around it. But I pulled it out. I was like, where'd you get it? Because immediately those are my questions if ever I'm looking at something like that. Is like, where'd you get it? She said eBay, and I didn't want to press her too much, but then I was just like asking more questions and just wondering. And the badge especially was quite shiny for something that is supposed to be from 1994. But the thing is, it's a vintage fake. It's made to look vintage. It's made to look old.
It's made to look vintage.
Yeah.
It's
like
not,
the tag
it's
looks
not
like weathered. We'll put some photos in here.
It's not a quote unquote cause original fake. It's not like an old
right.
It's not an old fake.
Right.
This is like, because you know how sometimes there's like those old school like Air Jordans. They were the old fakes from the 80s.
Yeah. Sayings. Things like that.
It's not one of those. This is just something.
This is a newly produced version of a Stone Island corduroy shirt from 1994. And there, if you look at the tags, there are small things you can tell that are off, small. Just like we used to do with Nike SB Dunks in the 2000s.
If the barcode's touching. And
the little details that don't quite line up. So I kept doing research and without breaking it to her at that point, being like, I don't know if this is legit, especially because she got it for probably half of what the market value is. And that was one of those things where I was like,
That's like a big thing now that I realize. So like if you go on like eBay and Etsy and stuff in like the vintage market. You can kind of, if you know, you can kind of tell that it's fake, but they'll like put a picture of like a vintage like band t-shirt. And you're like, oh, I want to buy that. But then you don't realize that it's that t-shirt, but like reproduced.
A replica.
On a vintage looking t-shirt, and they have every single size available. So maybe that's kind of what it was.
One of the things that stressed me out the most was I was Googling around for the shirt. Again, Stone Island 1994 jumbo cord.
Did you find the website that she bought it from?
I found the eBay listing. She bought it on eBay. But more than that, I found Reddit threads where people were talking about the reps, because there are subreddits where people discuss replica, unauthorized Stone Island copies. And they were like, yeah, this one's pretty good. This person makes it and you could buy it here. And I was crumbling and my faith was crumbling. And I reached out to some legit resellers, Arkomar, Archie. You know, he sells a lot of vintage Stone Island, a lot of gems, Joey as well. And yeah, they were kind of like, this guy who runs a lockup shop, and they were like, yeah, that's probably fake. And then I had this question of, do I tell her again? It was such a thoughtful gift. I was so happy about it that I didn't want to upset her or hurt her feelings because I was so appreciative.
How recent was this?
This was last week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Still going through it. Okay, I thought this was an older
So what do you do in that moment?
It's weird.
I ask you.
Well, we'll have our social team clip this out. And
now she's going to see it. So
hey, babe.
Well, Brendan's asking, what should I do about it? Meanwhile, he broadcast it on a podcast.
No, I already made the decision.
Oh, you already talked.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just asking what y'all would do. Would you tell your partner, your significant other, your girlfriend? And I'm asking the audience as well.
I would.
Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your partner.
I think I would with significant other.
You would tell them.
Well, this is an interesting one because it seems like she went through a ton and like a very rare item.
She was putting in the work.
I think you convey how much you care for her and how much you appreciate
something I do daily.
But it's also one of those maybe this is going beyond obviously going beyond sneakers, but I feel like if you're going to have like a fruitful relationship or whatever, that you're gonna have to discuss things that are way.
We're getting deep early.
Look at this guy or giving out relationship advice.
Dr. Phil.
Hold on, but you're gonna have to discuss. Seriously, you're gonna have to discuss things that are way more challenging to bring up.
Babe, this
but if you're not able to even like discuss this with someone, the person that you want to settle down with in a way that you can kind of like figure out a way to come to a amicable ending to it, then when something even more difficult comes up, then how are you going to discuss that?
I like that advice.
It's almost like a stress test for the relationship.
Also, this is what I would say. In my family, like not immediate family, but around the family, I've seen like really bad fake Supreme box logo hoodie. So this is not that.
Wait, did they
this
have
is
the,
not that,
they had
guys.
they had the Dwayne Wade on?
They had the academic
This
joint?
is not that.
He had the double.
This is not someone giving
Supreme.
you, hey, I got you the new camouflage Nego Supreme box logo hoodie, and it's like this. So this is a little different.
Well, that's what I was trying to get to earlier. Is that I feel like, there's a lot of people watching this that they might get one big present every Christmas from their girlfriend, significant other, and instead of getting a new iPhone, they get a pair of Travis Scott Mocha ones, right? But they may actually get the real ones. Like
I hope they get the real
that's
ones.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they get like someone's been saving up to buy them one really nice thing, and I totally see where sneakerheads get that, but maybe it's just me, and it's obviously coming from a different place. But being someone who has so many shoes, even before we embarked on this career, that I always just felt like it almost felt like on my behalf a little selfish to ask for another pair of shoes because I already had so many that I'm like, who am I to like ask my parents to go and get me another pair of sneakers when I already have 100.
Also, there's so many
upstairs.
other better gifts out there for us.
For sure.
So many other better gifts.
Like the things I would appreciate nowadays is like the things that you actually need.
Are we about to publicize your wish list?
No, I'm just saying the things.
Yeah, like the Dyson 5000 vacuum
stuff like
for
that.
the crib.
No, but I'm being serious. Stuff like
on
that.
my
A
list.
vacuum cleaner, a blender,
the Power Vac 5000.
electric
Post
razor.
it on your Twitter. Maybe someone will start copping for
Wait,
you.
should I put an Amazon wish list?
But anyways, I broke it to her. She took it very well. The seller, I don't know if they knew or not, but they immediately processed a refund and said, yeah, send it back.
Did you say that this was for Brendan Dunn?
No, I did not name drop myself, but I gave them a long list of reasons why it was fake, why it was not authentic. So
you gave him a whole
Thank you
dissertation.
to them and her-
He sent a whole Google Doc and took the can't edit option off,
did you add
but he just
academic
sent it and
citations?
shared it.
Did you?
You know he did.
No, but it was very funny. The seller was like, "Oh, I had no idea."
You didn't have link backs to like Reddit forums, like with the.
Yeah.
I was offering to the seller. I was like, "Look, if you want, I can send you more documentation and more explanation of why this is not legit." And they were like, "No, it's okay."
This is the most Brendan Dunn thing.
My man put a whole dossier together.
Hit him with the whole alphabetical slaughter.
Yeah, he said, F your feedback. Here's a dossier.
Oh yeah, but the situation is resolved. Again, it was an incredible gift, and I'm thankful. But if you see me around with the green edge badge on my arm, no, it's legit.
Speaking of football hooligan things, a shoe that maybe Brennan's excited for, but other people on the internet are raising a little bit of an eyebrow at.
Okay, what is this?
Mr. JJJound's upcoming Adidas Sambas.
I would wear them.
They just look like any other Samba, right?
Yeah. JJJound delivering exactly what we expect from JJJound on the Samba. I think it's hilarious.
He's consistent.
That's for sure.
Nobody can say that it's not consistent.
I mean, listen, guys, what if I started designing shoes and they were all triple black? Would you, it's like...
We might have to leave you
script.
off the top 10 list. But I want to mention this, by the way, speaking of Sambas. I was downtown this week, and I had such a rare sighting on Prince Street in Soho. Triple Samba. One group, three people all together, a trio all wearing the same white, black
Oh, white
Samba.
and black?
Yeah.
White with the black stripes?
White with the black stripes.
They come in groups. Trust me. That's what I said last week.
The one that recently released, the Beeston store in Germany, they did that consortium cup, but they did the white and black Samba, but it has like the patent leather.
Different enough,
but it's the sort of where you get lumped in with everyone wearing the Sambas, and you do like the total mine are the ones
it's
that
the
released
meme
in Europe
with the two guys at the urinal, and the guy walks from one end of the urinals to the other to say, by the way, these aren't the OG Sambas. These are from a European store. These are a collab. These are consortium.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was scandalized. And again, I don't have anything wrong with the white black Samba. I wear them myself, not that often now, but in a group with two other people wearing the exact same shoe as you.
Did you say anything to him?
No, I almost took a photo, but people get upset when you take photos of other people and post it online without them knowing.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys. We'll spend a little time on this. We're 12 hours removed from the finale of FSR. How do we feel? Great episode.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
How
I
are
feel
you guys
good.
feeling?
I feel good. I feel a little bit conflicted, if I'm being honest, because a lot of people were not that hyped on Marcus Jordan as our finale, but it's a guest that I stand behind, and I'm glad we did, and then I feel like is a perfect guest in a way because It's a mixture of a lot of different things. We bring back one of the biggest guests we've ever had on the show. His first episode is one of our most viewed. We get the entertainment aspect of funny bits and jokes flying around. We show you shoes that you've never seen before. And most important to me, we get to ask the tough questions and hold them accountable for all the backdooring allegations. That was a big goal of mine going into this episode, and we delivered on that.
Well, now that the show's done,
agreed.
We can pull back the curtain a little bit, the thought process behind it. So going into the finale, we obviously wanted to deliver a big guest, right? And I mean, obviously, the hope is that we were going to have Wale on the show. Reason why Wale was never on the show was Wale just decided he never wanted to come on the show, and that's just simple as that. You know, it is what it is. He just decided he never wanted.
Also, doesn't do a lot of press lately. Let's be honest, guys.
When's the last time? Hey, I'm not saying anything negative. It's just the reason why Wale never came on Full Size Run is Wale decided he never.
I'm sure Wale has more interesting things going on than talking to me.
Okay, so we wanted either Wale or like a Grail level guest that we never got the chance to chase down. Maybe like Dom Kennedy or Eric Costin or someone like that level. Some people had been asking for years that never came through. That didn't occur as well. And then we were going through a list of people who had been on the show before that were like the most loved guests or whatever, like a Currency, etc.
Yeah. Fan favorites.
Yeah, and we're like, hey, if Marcus can come on because it's a little spicier, a little more, I don't want to say relevant, but like topical, right? Or timely. Mm-hmm. We'll get him on.
Yeah.
And he came through, so we're like, hey, we're going to do it. Because if we weren't going to get someone like that, we were honestly maybe just going to do the three of us reminiscing, something like that. It was
I'd rather have a real interview for the final one.
But that was like, you know, where we were headed.
I'm confused. I totally get that. But to explain the thought process, I mean, I think it was a topical guest who has new shoes coming out, who you guys haven't talked to about a lot of stuff that was in the news in the past like few years, and you guys delivered on all that. So I thought it was just a great episode. I think it made total sense for the finale. I get what you're saying.
It's just that he's like persona non grata.
He's a villain for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't like him, so don't want to hear him talk.
And they're like, he's what's wrong with sneaker culture. Not F us, but like they're like, this is how they're gonna end the show, not giving back to the culture, et cetera, et cetera. That was kind of like.
I'm happy with it, and I'm happy with the way we held him accountable, and I think that's an important part of our job. And again, I sat on that couch and brought up everything about backdooring there was to say and told him right to his face, I don't believe you. So
saw that.
I think the internet in a nutshell. So we post at the end, we post on Instagram like a Marcus giving a look at the new trophy room shoes, which is just newsworthy in general. Big exclusive that we have. He's showing the shoes. It's obviously going to be a hype shoe going in, regardless of what you think of what happened with the trophy room Air Jordan 1 fiasco. People are going to want these trophy room lows. It just is. It is what it is. You can say you don't want them, but people are going to want them. And in the comments, people say, oh, well, they didn't ask Marcus about backdooring because in the 2-second clip that we posted on Instagram, we didn't ask him about backdooring.
But you guys did.
We did. And Brendan actually responded to him.
Almost all of my questions in the interview were about that.
And he goes, said,
did you watch the episode? Why don't you watch the episode and find out?
I feel silly though. And this is such an easy trap to fall into. We're focusing on the negative thing when we should be celebrating this thing that we're happy to walk away from, and this thing that we achieved so much with. And I'm happy about it overall, and I'm glad we got to do everything we did. And I'm really happy with this last season. I feel like there were so many great guests.
Here's a good question: who was your favorite guest? That wasn't like an obvious answer. Like not saying that like Jim Jones was your favorite guest on the show. Like maybe not the most popular episode ever, but one that you were just like that was one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me.
Or even just favorite to shoot.
Do you have an answer in mind? Tell me.
Yes. One of the ones that I would say I thoroughly enjoyed doing, where I'm like, wow, that was fun. This guy is awesome. Paul Wall.
Oh yeah, that's a great answer.
Good answer. Good answer.
I am happy I got to sit on the couch next to Paul Wall.
Yeah, what a great guy.
That's a
Don, who's yours?
I'll go with Paul Wall.
What about Lupe Fiasco?
I mean, yes, Lupe Fiasco just in general, but he's an obvious one.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite episodes ever. One of my favorite ones to shoot. Yeah. So many memories. Joe, do you
many hits. So many moments. I'm checking.
You know, mine. I know. Some misses amongst the hits. Let's be honest.
I already know what Joe's favorite was outside of like the handful that people count on. I already know the answer to that one. Tony Yayo.
Oh, Tony Yayo.
Perfect. Perfect. Yep, Tony Yayo. That's it. That's it. He answered for me, and he's right. He's right.
By the way, there are some. I said I was going to do this last week, but there's a lot of full-size run guests or just guests in general we've been wanting to talk to lately that we still never have, and I'm just going to put it out there in the ether so we can set that tone. Because this is our last podcast of 2023. We'll be back in January 2024, just in a couple of weeks. But PJ Tucker.
You know who I love too?
Tell me.
Sorry, Dunn. You know who I love too, guys?
Who?
The situation I thought was awesome.
It was a fun episode.
I thought the situation came off great.
I think one of the funnier moments of that is watching it back was the cold open where Brendan had the neck brace and the sunglasses on.
I thought that was a really good episode. Sorry, Dunn.
No, all
ahead.
good. So this is our wish list right now, since this is a Christmas-ish episode and holiday theme. So Jerry Lorenzo, we need him on here. We need PJ Tucker, and full size run is no more. We ended the show, but we want these people to come on here instead. Wale for sure, Mike Bibby, Jonathan Davis from Korn, Busta Rhymes,
Cameron.
Yeah, we need all those people on this podcast.
Chad Muska.
Yes, Chad Muska for sure. So the faithful fans, go and hassle all these people on our behalf.
Speaking of famous people, I want to once again pull back the curtain a little bit because this is funny and it's also embarrassing on my behalf. Joe.
Okay, I was going to say,
I already told you this story. So I put out there where I said that this week, meaning last week,
right? We're shooting this episode early.
I was like, it's probably going to be the biggest week of my career, being that we have the full-size run series finale, Marcus Jordan, Action Bronson podcast. And on top of that, I got to interview Mark Wahlberg in person, right, at the Municipal pop-up in Hudson Yards. Yep. And I go there, right? The mall's packed. It's Christmas time anyway, so the mall's going to be packed. But there's a line out the wazoo for people to go. Funny word, right?
Yeah. What a boomer term. What a boomer term, out the wazoo. Go ahead.
To get into the pop-up. And I'm the only media person there. I thought there was going to be a handful, like a scrum sort of situation. So they stopped the meet and greet with Mark Wahlberg for me to interview him. But I didn't get to meet him beforehand or anything like that. I
didn't get to discuss workout plans.
No, I didn't get to build any rapport with him. And all of a sudden, I'm just brought up with some random media person that I wasn't introduced.
Love those type of interviews.
In any sort of thing. So I'm like, how do I 2-second break the ice with this guy? So it's not just like I'm a reporter putting my mic in his face or my phone. And I have to
say, Mark Wahlberg icebreaker.
I have to say that I'm like, it was like, I don't want to say an embarrassing moment for me.
I know where we're going.
But I had to say, hey, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Matt. I have a podcast with Joe LaPuma. You did sneaker shopping with him.
How'd it go over?
And he goes, oh, yeah, with Kevin Hart. I remember that.
Best icebreaker ever when you're about to meet a celebrity, when you're trying to chat someone up at a party, when you just want to seem important in the room is definitely, I know Joe LaPuma.
Love that. You're talking about an icebreaker with Mark Wahlberg. You guys being fitness, I thought maybe an icebreaker would you guys get in the cold plunge.
Literally, a literal icebreaker.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know?
So, it went fine, but everything in my career, everything I accomplished in my career solely breaks down to I got a podcast with Joe LaPuma.
I sit next to Joe LaPuma once a week.
I'll take it.
But great guy. You should go read it on the website. He talks about why he doesn't wear Jordans anymore.
Please do. And can I add on a disclaimer, by the way? You mentioned that we're recording this a little bit early, so we'll catch up on news. I always like to say this, when we get back, I'll be on vacation. There's a Nike earnings call next week. I'm always sad to miss that.
Oh, yeah.
Saying that just in case Nike CEO John Donahoe decides to step down or is about to step down.
Or he decides to publicly acknowledge you.
If either of those things happen and I miss it, I'll be sad.
Acknowledge me.
We'll catch up. Should we get to what we're here for?
We should, and I think that everyone's been waiting for this. It's been a few weeks of a lot of comments.
Wait, first we should talk about what we have on feet.
Yes, true. Sorry, I jumped the gun.
Go for it.
I'm wearing the ALD New Balance 860 V2.
Beautiful shoe.
Topical, huh?
Technical?
I also want to go on record because before when that shoe came out this year. No. I was it was very much in that vein of when every collab came out, they had to drop like 4 different colorways of it. And
you don't like that era?
Not that much. Those came out in 3 different colorways, and I was like, just do the green ones. Because I was kind of lumping it in with all the other shoes, all the Nike shoes that Sakai, Ambush, Claw, etc. Sometimes when it's like they drop 9 different colorways of the
too much.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, just drop one. But I will go saying that those shoes are amazing. I got the red pair, which wasn't the pair that I said that I even wanted to get, but they feel like a Rolex on your feet.
I like that analogy.
Oh, wow. Look
I
at
like
that.
analogy.
Look at that.
Welty, what are you wearing?
1998. Shout out our good friend, Mr. Joseph Freshgoods.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
These are the Keisha pairs. Chicago exclusive.
New Balance.
Not a Chicago.
Why don't you put on a leather jacket with those, okay?
Don't own one.
And flex a little around
You
New
and Big Body
Hampshire
Best
this
go grab
Christmas
one on
season.
Fordham Road.
Go get a black
Are
leather
you gonna wear
and throw
Joe?
your weight around.
Joe, on noir leather pants with these shoes.
Hold on. You don't like when I wear New Balance with leather pants. I saw a lot of leather with New Balance. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? And look, I'm going to keep the hand up there.
Hey,
talking
I
about
will say though, because the shoes are based on belly, that a baggier leather pant does work with it.
Okay.
Oh,
Welty giving you all the holiday tips.
First
for
he's
the fit.
Dr. Phil. Now he's also the fashion police. Who else are you going to be this podcast? Okay.
Tim Blanks.
Joe, what are you wearing off
Okay.
remotely, wherever you are?
I keep moving the table. I'm in work mode. I'm in black Stussy sweatpants, but I'm in another shoe that made the sneaker of the year list, Cortez 95.
Oh, he's already spoiling the list already for us.
No, everyone's seen the list, but listen, the list went through some iterations we'll get to. But Cortez 95, I've been wearing these and the Barcelona Pata TNs, Air Max Plus, as like my travel shoe. So as my travel shoes.
Speaking of the list, maybe a good way to start it off.
Air Force One?
Did the list end up making the list?
Why would we start?
They didn't. Yeah,
Why
so
would we
let's
just throw it out there?
Let's start it.
Two guys in the
Let's
world.
start it.
Two guys in the
Sometimes-
world making that shoe a thing.
Sometimes you have to nip
Let's
things
start.
in the bud so they don't manifest later on.
Okay, so let's start. Let's start off this.
He's talking about the Clark Kent list Air Force Ones. It's
I
not
know.
making any of our
Of
year-end
course.
lists. I know,
Top
for the
5
audience.
shoe of the year according to the panel, right?
Anyways.
Let's start off the past few weeks, starting late November, we did the ComplexCon Sneaker of the Year list.
Yeah.
Our list at Complex, we came up with the list to present to the panel. I think next year we're going to make some changes with criteria, and we're going to figure it out. I truly thought it was a very entertaining panel in the room. I think it
Always.
Okay. The list that we set out back then, which was at the end of October, that the Brain Trust at Complex put their heads
Complex
together.
Sneakers team.
That was the list that we presented at ComplexCon. Now, we'll get this out of the way very quick so we could focus on the actual list that we put together. That's our final list.
The revised one.
Yeah.
After these many iterations, we had that list. At the panel, the list changed. The Vomero was added,
Which is
and
not
the
true.
TS Air Force One jumped a few spots. Then, this week or last week, the Brain Trust that came up with the original list, Complex Sneakers, reflected and made changes.
Not something we usually do.
And I was surprised. I'm not going to lie. I was surprised. I didn't know that you guys made changes, but this is the list, the final list, Complex's Sneaker of the Year list after the roller coaster of the past 4 weeks.
Well, I think
I've seen the comments.
I think where the divide comes sometimes too is that you said you thought it was an interesting panel, right? Like experience where it was interesting.
Entertaining,
production. But I think that when people sometimes go to those things, they want to be entertained. But when they talk about the best sneakers of the year, they want it to be more definitive and like a factual, these are the top 10 shoes of the year, more than just someone said something entertaining on stage, you know?
I agree. And here's where I would say, and I'm not making any excuses. I think, you don't get pre-production really with the group. It's I see them a half hour before. It's not like we discuss this. The other thing I would say that I'm definitely going to work on, and I would work on it with you guys next year. I do want to have some criteria, which I think always helps. I think even at the beginning of the panel, having a criteria, because
that's so amazing just to shut stuff down and be like, no, we're not doing that.
And that's the thing. I think that's where kind of we fell short. And over the years, it's becoming more apparent that I want a criteria. Just like as it came on the panel, as it came about on the panel, Yachty being like, well, are you talking about the most hyped? Are you talking?
Yeah.
I think that we should we're going to work together to have a criteria for the panel going forward to hopefully alleviate some of the chaos. I like the chaos, but criteria and chaos are two different things, and I think there's a place for both of them.
Yeah, because I mean, if you talk about it as like, if you watch it back, it's like we mentioned it before. It's like the List Air Force one, right? Like Clark's on. No, I think we should just discuss it. It's fine. Clark's on stage, so obviously he's gonna root for his own shoe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Jim Jones is on stage wearing the shoe, and when it comes to maybe discussing the most definitive top 10 sneakers of the year, Jim's maybe not the most like informed voice on it. He adds a lot to the sneaker discussion as a whole, but maybe if you're like talking about these are the 10 best shoes, maybe he's not the guy to break down the academic reasoning behind all of them, right? And it's fine. He says that himself, right? So you get like two people really like rocking for one shoe. Yachty likes the shoe as well, but it's not a shoe that when you talk to the overall audience or the
public
or the scope of sneaker culture, number one that they even had a chance to buy, or number two was like on their radar of a shoe they need to like talk about at the end of the year. So it's like the conversations get dominated by that one thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, but that's not what we should be focusing on, right?
By the way, I also want to mix in here our personal favorites, because when we put these lists together, we try and set aside our personal bias as much as we can. Should we start with?
No, I think we should
do this for 2 hours.
I think we should do personal favorites at the end.
Okay.
Because we go through it and then
Okay, cool. So let's go through. This is the final version of the Complex Sneaker of the Year list, and generally speaking, our criteria are the biggest, most important, best sneakers, and this has to do with our personal taste a little bit, but more what we feel is reflective of the audience and what the people reading our site, consuming our content like to see. These have to be sneakers that actually released. These have to be sneakers that a lot of people enjoyed, that were culturally important in this hobby of ours.
Yeah. Yes. Because I think we had a debate towards the end where we're like, hey, there might be a really niche shoe that people in the office like, but then we have to realize too that not everyone consuming these lists are niche New York City internet heavy sneaker collectors,
which is what we are.
Yes, but you might say, someone might say, hey, this really niche collab that I really love is a top 10 shoe of the year, but then someone else reading it is probably going to say, Gratitude Air Jordan 11s are one of the biggest and my favorite shoes of the year, so why isn't that on the list? You know, and it's like you try to meld those two worlds. I feel like that's where the disconnect happens on these things.
I do agree. It is refreshing when we had the fan episode and one of the kids on the episode was like, I said sneaker of the year, and Jordan, his name was, he was like the Georgetown Fives. And I think like that's a shoe he got.
It's like you have such a different perspective. It's a shoe you got and loved. It's like your favorite shoe.
Yeah, and I love that perspective. And I don't know, like I know we do the best Air Jordans of the year, but like that is
best GRs or something.
Yeah, like listen, we should maybe do that, honestly.
Best GRs is actually a pretty good
should do that. We should do that, guys.
All right. Sorry. So I think to start it off, I know you said this is the top 10 list, but when we talk about the bubble, because the bubble to me is like the most like argued portion of the list. It's not what's 1 or 2. It's just what's number 10, what's number 11.
12 to 10. Yeah. 12 to 8. 12 to 8.
And I think the one shoe this year that I don't think it should have been, there could have been other shoes that are way closer to the list, but I think that was argued over the most was Samba, right? We already talked about Samba. And I think, I don't know if you had brought it up, but it was the Wales Bonner Samba being a number 10 shoe of the year list. It didn't make the list, but that was one thing that we argued for.
One of those bubble sneakers
it was right there, number 11.
I thought deserved a spot because, and we go through this a lot on the list where we feel like there's a big moment in shoes or a big genre that is important in the year.
A la mesh runners.
Mesh Y2K runners, and we'll talk about that later. But Sambas, where we feel like Sambas were huge this year, and we needed a shoe on there to be reflective of that. And to me, the biggest Samba moment is the Wales Bonner Samba, and it's the best one. It looks clean. It looks like a Samba that you've never seen before. I really like her as a designer. But Welty, you felt like it wasn't enough of a sneakerhead shoe to make the cut.
I just feel like it didn't fit what our audience was looking for. And sometimes I had to put like, I wasn't even caping for that shoe.
I was caping for it.
Yes. And I do think looking back, after we ended up discussing the list, I think that if we were going to get a Samba in, I think that the Kith Clark Samba maybe had more merits.
Right there, too.
More of a sneakerhead shoe. Yeah. It was a huge moment.
I just don't want to put out a list and not worrying too much about what people are going to say, but just not be reflective somewhat of the people who are actually consuming the list, where we feel like we're out of touch. You know, I just don't want to put that out there where, like you said, it's like, are we really going to argue to get the Wales Bonner Samba on the top 10?
I was trying.
Shoes of the year list, where it's like 98% of the people consuming the list may have never even heard of that shoe or even interacted with it, and they may think that a GR Jordan is much bigger and important in their world.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Joe, did you want Wales Bonner Samba on there?
I wasn't married to it, but also huge year for the Samba. That one seemed like it was the one that was always in your face online, kind of like breaking through. But but again, the Kith Adidas Clark's collab, that was on our mid-year list, and I thought that it would make the end of the year list, and it didn't. So
I think that shoe lost a lot of points for it being a pre-order and the shoes coming in so much later. I feel like if that
disturbs the hype on it.
If that shoe had released and those shoes came out when people first saw them and everyone had them and wore them, not saying what Ronnie did with the pre-order was a bad thing, letting people get the shoes, but if you want to talk about how things are appreciated in the hype sphere, wherever you want to call it, at the end of the year, I feel like that kind of disturbed that shoe's natural flow.
A
little bit. And also the other Kith shoe that we didn't even argue for, that some people may put as a top 10 sneaker of the year, was the Kith Asics X-Man collaboration. I feel like
I like those a lot, but I feel like people don't like Gel Light 3s that much right now, and Gel Light 3 is not the Asics shoe.
It felt like a bigger project, though.
I feel like we could easily just do 3 hours on this thing, but I want to talk about, can we talk about a couple more bubble sneakers?
Go.
People were asking about Jarritos Nike SB Dunk. I think that was a big shoe at the top of the year. I don't think it sustained really, and I don't think anybody is talking about them, and I haven't seen that many people wear them. And also I think that Nike SB Dunks have cooled off a little bit. So
when we talk about Sneaker of the Year panel, I feel like this is one of the riffs that we come across on it, is that ComplexCon, we're in New York. We may have maybe a New York bias. ComplexCon in LA, huge West Coast bias. Nike SB Dunks, I feel like naturally gravitate a little more West Coast favoritism on it, just skateboarding in general. But Jarritos and Born and Raised,
I think Born and Raised was closer to making it for me, though.
But two themes, though.
Yeah.
Jarritos and Born and Raised as a whole are just bigger on the West Coast than they are on the East Coast. So I can totally understand why someone on the West Coast, Nike SB plus Jarritos plus Born and Raised.
Born and Raised, I wanted to be on the list.
But those things as a whole, like culturally, I feel like those, I can understand maybe where people
wanted those.
Yeah, we're upset about it.
Obviously, Jarritos not my favorite in terms of just like straight color scheme. I think the project, I wouldn't say it came and went at all, but I don't think that it's sustained enough to be on the end of the year list. I think if we're talking about the Born and Raised versus the Jarritos, I would go with Born and Raised. But again, what I said, like I just, to your point, Brendan, I've been a little dunked out, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, those didn't end up making the 10.
I feel like the Sneaker of the Year list has to be representative too to like what's actually going on in sneakers. And while dunks are still mainstream, I think we can all agree that, like Joe said, we're a little tired of them. So to put dunks on the end of the year list, not that it can't be.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like what's going on right now.
We wanted a mesh running shoe on here, a Y2K sneaker, because that's a huge thing this year.
Yes.
Nobody forgot Mesh Boy Summer, I hope.
Nope.
And on the original version
of the list,
who
didn't? Will Ferrell didn't.
Oh, yeah.
On the original version of the list that we presented at ComplexCon, we had the sneaker I'm wearing here, the ALD 860 V2, and a shoe that I had campaigned to be on the list because I feel like it's the best version of mesh running shoes this year, and a sneaker I see outside a lot in New York. ALD is on fire right now. This is a clean New Balance sneaker that they did.
And like you said, East Coast versus West Coast. I feel like that shoe isn't a West Coast shoe at all. So when we put it on the screen at ComplexCon, everyone's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Panel did not like that one at number 6. I'll tell you that much. And the crowd almost.
No disrespect to the people on stage, but I take feedback more from the people in the room than the people who are on the stage.
But they didn't like it either, right?
I know. But I just feel like this is a tough question we've had to grapple with. Like, how much do we incorporate that into changing our list and reflecting and figuring out what we got wrong.
Well, I feel like back in the day with Soul Collector, for the top 10 shoes of the year, you guys actually just, I think a few years just did a poll.
Yeah, I like that.
I do and I don't. You know what I mean? Like
we want to inject our taste into it a bit.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we don't want to listen to the people, but at the end of the day, when it's a poll and that's it, it's almost like AI.
Yeah.
To some extent, where our job becomes...
We're melting.
Yeah. For the ALD 860 V2, that was on our original list at number 6, and that's one of the shoes that didn't make our final list. That was one of the changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because people, the feedback on it was negative in the room, and maybe it wasn't big enough as a singular shoe. Some people at ComplexCon, I think Clark was asking for a Vomero to be on there, a Nike Zoom Vomero 5. We felt like Vomero was big this year, but I think that to give that slot of mesh running shoe to the Nike shoe is a little bit off.
Well, the reason why, and I said this before, and people agree with me, so whatever, is that the reason why mesh running shoes were big this year is because the Asics, New Balance, and Saucony really pushing that into the consciousness. And I know that Vomeros had come out a few years ago. They completely flopped. The colors were awful on them. They're very like neon green, crimson red, bright blue, and it just didn't hit. Now they're back because the trend is there, but Nike didn't really set that trend.
Yeah.
They just kind of hopped along with it.
And so to give Nike that space,
give Nike
wrong.
The credit for it historically isn't the move. Yeah, and that's why.
Okay, sorry. I think we've had so much pre-up.
We haven't got even to 10.
Be a
all right, let's go to number 10.
Yes, okay. Number 10 on our revised final. 10. We stand by this no matter what. We're right. Sneaker of the year list is the Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 Low.
You didn't want this to be on the list.
And again, this isn't about my personal taste. And this is a sneaker that we had ranked higher in the room at ComplexCon, and we bumped down because everybody was like, no,
number 7.
Why is that on there?
We had it at number 7.
And I keep asking, why is that on there? And the answer to why is that on there that our larger group came up with is that this is still a huge sneaker.
Popular.
Travis Scott is still the guy breaking records on sneakers every time. I don't care about these. These are boring. He's honestly like JJJJound level at Nike right now of how predictable it is.
It's like the NPC of sneakers. It's just like stand-in, like, oh, the Travis Jordan, where it's just generic at this point, you know.
But also we got to listen, we're not out of touch at all. We're still in it. We're still in the mud. But guys, let's just think, we're getting older.
Yes.
The kids, this is probably
maybe
on
the
kids'
children
Christmas.
Are wrong.
No, I get it.
This is on kids' Christmas lists. Probably the number one of the top shoes on kids' Christmas lists. Again, like you said, and like I said on the panel, still breaking records on sneakers. And it just shows that Travis still has a hold on moving these Nikes.
No matter what. It's still in terms of collectible sneakers toward the top and moved a lot more units than a lot of the sneakers that we celebrate on this list. And we have to recognize that, even if none of us are going to wear this sneaker.
It's funny because a lot of people always will view me as, oh, all Matt wants is New Balance and Asics on the list, right? That's my personal opinion, but I think maybe you can attest that when we actually put these lists together at this point, I'm much more on the side of saying we should get the popular shoes of the year.
Yeah, you've grown on
the list because I know that that's maybe what the audience wants.
Yeah,
a little
it's
more.
not totally a popularity contest, but we take that into account.
We listen to the market, but the one place where I went with that logic, a la Travis Scott, and we got it wrong. For the ComplexCon panelists was putting the Drake Nocta Glide on there, thinking that this is what the people like. JLP.
That was Joe caping hard for that sneaker.
I feel like kowtowed a little bit, giving you a bone on there, Joe, knowing it was one of your favorite shoes, but I can admit that. That's
so
the reason
both of you don't think it should have been
on. I'm happy.
I gave you a bone on that one, Joe.
And everybody in the room at ComplexCon was saying, get that shoe off of there. So we got that shoe off of there. There's no Nocta Glide, no OVO shoes at all on our top 10.
Okay, I still like that shoe.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, I know. Some of our colleagues like that shoe as well. It just wasn't me caping for it. I would agree that one at, what was it, number 9? That elicited a crowd reaction.
Number 9, yeah.
Your boy was up there like this. Sweating a long hour up here, okay? At number 9, I was so like, I thought I had Jim. I knew.
Well,
Jim
you had Jimmy. You had Jimmy, but you thought you had Yachty. Yachty's like Drake's best friend until all of a sudden Action Bronson is best friend. But
I said, I had my ear. The production it's going to be a long hour up here. All right, and that was number 9.
I want to say I'm happy people are arguing about these things because they always should, and they always should challenge our opinions and our takes on these things. But let's not forget that our top 3 or 4 were pretty unanimously agreed upon, and nobody had an issue with that.
I think the top 5 was like pretty much like.
But the back half, and these are close calls. The back half, everyone's like,
but that's always the one.
This is like
people usually argue unless you make a super controversial decision.
Yeah.
I think a few years ago, people got more upset about our top shoes of the year.
Yeah.
When we said that we didn't want Dior or Chunky Dunky. And I still stand by that.
Yeah.
I still
Fat
stand.
Joe didn't like that.
I still
Fat Joe
stand
didn't
by
like that.
I don't care for those
Isn't
shoes
the
still
point
to this day.
that you can't get them? Isn't the point that they're rare?
But what was number 9?
Okay, yes. Sorry, it's going to take us so long to get to this list.
Yeah,
number 9 is J-Tips Saucony Grid Azura 2000.
And people were mad that wasn't on the list.
This is a sneaker we left off the initial ComplexCon list, and there were a lot of boos, and people felt like this shoe should be on there.
Also, J-Tips, friend of all of ours, was in the building. Go watch the episode. It's no slight to J-Tips or anything on that accord, right? We didn't have it on the ComplexCon list, but, I think you saw the reaction. J-Tips obviously had the Saucony booth at ComplexCon, re-released the new collaboration there, saw the reaction there. And we were arguing at the end saying, I think it was actually an argument we're saying, J-Tips versus Wales Bonner Samba, even though J-Tips was number 9 and Travis was number 10. We were arguing between the two, and you said, you know what? At the end of the day, the J-Tips shoe means much more to what this sneaker footwear collector community is than what Wales Bonner does. So we're going to ride with the side of what the community cares about versus some shoe that we think is cool.
Perfectly said.
But for the sake of the list, this is the one that replaced the Nocta Glide, essentially, not the Wales Bonner one.
Yeah, I think it's not easy to say like 1-to-1 like that. We did so much shifting, but it's in that slot. And I think what Welty said is exactly right.
Okay, so that was your thought process when we went back after the ComplexCon panel.
And we're saying, hey, he made a Saucony hot, which isn't the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, you got to grade those things on a curve.
Absolutely.
And J-Tips' shoe feels like a small shoe numbers-wise compared to a lot of these things. I think only a fraction of the people who know about the J-Tips Saucony compared to a Travis Scott Jordan 1
or Air
Air Jordan 3 or something like that. But I still think he has a big effect when you look at sneakerheads and this niche thing that we come from, and him being from this scene as well and all his legitimate connections to it.
You know what I love? And I think that this speaks volumes. Some people have this number 1. A lot of people have this number 1 on their list.
Yachty bought it
number 1
live on stage.
Yes.
Number 1's too high up. All respect.
Same.
Tips,
but the fact that a lot of people have this, their sneaker.
I know
of the year,
if so many people have it as sneaker of the year and we don't have it at all, then it's like, oh shit. Maybe
sometimes
that
you got to look.
on there.
You got to start looking at yourself sometimes.
I look at the man in the mirror.
There's not a mirror, but come on.
I think it sums it up is that a lot of people like to champion or rally around someone who feels relatable. J-Tips is a person who, I don't want to say he's just a man of the people, but he's kind of more so like he feels like he's in it with everyone who's buying it.
A peer rather than a person you look up to.
He's not putting himself in the ivory tower looking down upon the sneaker world. It feels like he's more out in the trenches a little bit.
And we want to celebrate that. We want to reward that.
And he had his second release, and it seems like it sustained the hype. And a lot of people had bought into the second release because they saw how coveted the first one became. And people maybe who didn't even know who J-Tips was at first, he's been able to convert fans.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of speaks to his impact.
And a lot of these people on this list, these collaborators or collaborators we talk about in general, if they did a Saucony sneaker, it wouldn't sell like J-Tips Saucony sneaker.
J Balvin Saucony would not hit.
Nope.
Oh.
Okay. No shots. He's on the list, but it wouldn't hit.
Yeah.
You said J-Tips, man, the people on the footwear news red carpet, he was grilled out. He was looking flexy then, though. Man, and the people had the gold grills.
Right
I saw it,
J-Tips. We saw it.
saw it, J-Tips. Go ahead, King.
Number 8 on our official We're Not Wrong Ever final Complex Sneaker of the Year list. Action Bronson, New Balance 990 V6 Baklava.
Oh, this could have been higher. In my personal opinion, I'm not gonna push my personal agenda like people think I do.
Yeah.
But this, for me, is like a personal opinion, like a top 2, top 3 shoe of the year.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But you realize that's not the case for
and I know, and I never made a case for it to be that high.
Tell us why it's a great shoe.
we spoke about it with Bronson. Go watch the episode from last week. But you get a lot of collaborators who they say, "Oh, my lifelong dream has been to do a Jordan." No crap. Everyone wanted to do a shoe. You know, like, come on. But
no
it's
crap
like,
is
but
hilarious.
it's like,
He's boomered out today.
Yeah, I know.
Out the wazoo.
Are you? But it's like aside from a few, it's like you really weren't the biggest Jordan collector, or like Jordans weren't an integral piece of your identity as like style wise, right? Like you liked them, everyone did, you know, and it's cool that you got to do a shoe. It
sounds like you're talking to somebody else on this list.
No, I'm not. I'm genuinely not.
Yeah,
I'm genuinely
just in general.
Not. Yes, but Action Bronson and New Balance, the connection between the two. Been so
legitimate, long-standing,
so long coming. He's been wearing the shoes over 30 years.
Got the tattoo on his arm.
As he came up as an artist, he was like one of the true connoisseurs of the brand before it ever popped off. Rode through it through thick and thin. The brand hated on him at one point, wouldn't give him his just due.
Remember who fronted?
Finally gets the accreditation or validation from the company and does sort of the shoe of his dreams. And it's like, how can, and it gets very well received. How can you not want to rally behind something like that?
On a modern silhouette too.
My
not
favorite
just a
colorway
retro.
is the first one, you know? And then like LeBron did with the 2 Chainz Deluxe, he followed up. He said, give him another one. Remember? Give him another one. And he did the toned down one.
What if we just go ahead and give him 2 more?
Exactly.
To do the 2 colorways and have them be so drastically different, but have both of them hit on the same level, that's not an easy accomplishment.
Yeah. Serve 2 different
I have a question, guys.
legitimate purposes. Tell us.
It's not the end of the year. If we want to really be factual, it's not the end of the year.
Very close.
Would the Joe Freshgoods New Balance make this end of the year list?
It's hard because it's like, I want to say yes, because I think this shoe on, like, especially this blue pair, these are amazing, right? But you don't want to be wrong, right? And if a shoe's only been out for a week,
very hard to judge.
It's very hard to gauge.
I agree.
How much people are going to care. I'm not saying that I think people are going to care about these a lot. When I spoke to Joe earlier this year when he did the Jumpman 650s or Stuntman 650s.
Yes, that you wore.
Don't get us in legal trouble.
He said he had a shoe at the end of the year that he knows it's not going to be on the sneaker of the year list because it's going to come out too late.
Yeah.
But it said it may be the best V4 that ever, etc. But
yeah, I was just thinking that when I'm looking at it. You know, I have the outro pair, but it's something. Yeah, I agree that it just dropped. So, we would have to see.
Hold.
I wouldn't even say recency bias, but you can make an argument. There could definitely be an argument.
Another sneaker in the same vein is the Nike Cactus Flea 2. And maybe that shoe is just too ugly to some people to make the cut regardless. I still like it because it's a zany-ass sneaker, and we saw a ton of those at ComplexCon.
It got a lot of love at ComplexCon, but I also feel like that was almost like the perfect environment for that.
To wear that
it's
shoe.
It's like the biodome for that shoe.
Yeah. You're totally right.
Or everyone's getting weird fits off anyways, and that's the weirdest looking shoe.
Yeah.
But outside
certainly
of
a statement shoe. Certainly more interesting than some of the things on this list.
Here's what I would also say about that shoe. I don't think I could pull it off. I will say something about that shoe. When you take it off the shelf or you hold it in your hand, you're like,
the Cactus Flea 2?
It weighs 15 pounds. Your wrist hurts.
Well, it's just like there's just no way I can make the shoe look good. At ComplexCon, there was a lot of people wearing them.
Fits were gotten off.
It all looked good. All of them look good to me. All of them. Every time I see it, I was just not like, oh wow, see, like reaffirm that.
Yeah.
No, so many fits that I saw, people got them off. Our own Aya had a fit, got it off.
It's big baggy pants shoe.
Yeah.
Sort of shoe you see someone with like a sleeveless vest, like no shirt underneath. Like
very of the moment shoe. I think it's a good shoe right now, but it may look crazy in a couple years. And we would never look crazy in a couple years with our complex list.
Nope.
Okay. Exactly. There's so much. I really want to make this a 3-hour podcast.
Okay.
Let's go.
Number 7 on our official final Complex Sneaker of the Year list, top 10, is the Terror Squad Nike Air Force One.
This is the shoe.
And it moved up.
This is the DJ Khaled Air Jordan. Well, I would say the list is the DJ Khaled Air Jordan 5 of this year, meaning that it's the shoe that got pushed
the list,
up,
meaning the list Air Force One.
Was the one that like magically it's like it wasn't even on the list, and then all of a sudden it's like a top 5 shoe according to
it was on the list though.
No. Hold on. Last year, the DJ Khaled Air Jordan 5 wasn't even on
our list.
Well, he wasn't even on our list, and then all of a sudden it manifested itself as like a top 5 shoe of the year.
Because a lot of people on the ComplexCon panel know DJ Khaled personally and wanted to celebrate his shoe, which I understand, but for us, that was a touching top 10. And it's also like
the Terror Squad Air Force One, I do think good shoe, but it got pushed up further on the ComplexCon panel because a lot of people on stage close connections to Fat Joe and that shoe. So it's like,
and we had that at number 10 going into the panel, and our original list we had it at number 10. It ended up at number 7 at ComplexCon, and it ended up number 7 on our final list.
This was a shoe I had to be careful about personally not championing too hard, because I think this is one of the best shoes of the year, and it's probably in my personal top 5. And I love a sneaker that's relatively plain like this but has legitimate history. It's the actualization of a footwear dream from 20 years ago, not unlike the situation you described with Action Bronson. Fat Joe was paying Nike employees under the table in the early 2000s to make exclusives for him, and those Nike employees weren't supposed to be doing that. Somebody got fired over it. Just such a cool history. The lean back video, the TS stamp on the sneakers, and now it's become, way later, when Joe himself is in a different phase in his life, a legitimate release from Nike. I love that.
Also, listen, I don't want to single anything out. I don't want to single a shoe out. You wore the Brooklyn Off-White Air Force Ones, the green. You said you didn't walk 10 steps and they crumbled. The toe box wrinkled. These Terror Squad Air Force Ones, they don't crumble. The leather on the toe box doesn't crumble. You got to say something about that.
It's a well-built shoe.
There's something to say about that.
Yeah.
I think one of the toughest things about this shoe, though, is that I feel like a lot, not that it doesn't mean something to people, and it's not everything that you said it was, but I feel like when we talk about the end of the year list, I feel like it gets a lot of its accolades maybe from its like media rollout, where it's seemingly Jennifer Lopez has a pair, Bill Clinton has a pair, Fat Joe's promoting it 24/7.
Yeah,
we're on the
But I like that. You have to factor that stuff in. I like that stuff.
I get it. Hold on. And then, you're on the ComplexCon panel,
I wasn't.
We're watching it, and you have Yachty.
We're watching from the crowd being thrown under the bus every 10 minutes.
Yachty, Jim Jones.
Me too, though.
Clark Kent. They're all championing the shoe on stage. But it's the one shoe where I wonder where the people watching this and the people at home, if the Terror Squad Air Force One was really as impactful to those people.
I know what you mean.
As it was the people who are trying to influence things out there.
Yeah. It's a sneaker nerd shoe. But I think we're here to be sneaker nerds to an extent.
Definitely. I like it at number 7.
It being an Air Force One doesn't help a ton. I mean, I love the Air Force One. The Air Force One is an incredibly important shoe. We could talk for hours just about the Air Force One, but I think people in general aren't wearing Air Force Ones very much right now. So I think that didn't give it a lot of favors, although you wouldn't want the shoe to be anything other than an Air Force One.
I also love that you could get them. Couldn't a lot of people get them?
Yeah,
you could. And I feel like to some extent, though, that Air Force One is a more popular shoe. I mean, is a one of like the most popular shoes.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you were to go to a sneaker con or something like that, you may be more likely to see an Action Bronson 990 on foot at an event like that than you would see the Terror Squad Air Force One.
I don't think so.
I kind of agree with Welty here.
To that super hyper sneaker nerd audience, I feel like that was a much more collectible shoe than Terror Squad Air Force Ones.
Maybe. I just feel like I feel like we always talk about, like, if someone was like, hey, what's a good gift? What's a good sneaker to get for the year that you could get that you don't have to pay crazy resale, but it's like a really good shoe? I'm recommending.
Special.
Yeah, I mean, totally. But yeah.
You're recommending the Terror Squad, the Fat Joe one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Next sneaker on our list. This is a sneaker that, number 6, fittingly, the Nike Kobe 6 Reverse Grinch. This sneaker hadn't come out when we did the list for ComplexCon, and it hadn't come out by the time ComplexCon happened, so it wasn't up for consideration then. But this is just such a home run shoe, a beautiful shoe, a shoe celebrating Kobe's legacy, a shoe taking a classic colorway and flipping it.
I feel like if we look back, it's one of those shoes that if we look back in 10 years and look at our list, and then that shoe isn't on the list, it's going to be like one of those like weird asterisks. Like, oh, you guys didn't have the Reverse Grinches on there? Because I feel like in 10 years, this is still going to be a popular shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relatively simple, not controversial sneaker. It took a long time for Nike to get the reboot of the Kobe line right, but I think this is exactly right.
I feel like it may be a shoe that the three of us might not be as hyped on or running out to get or run out to yell about, but Kobe still huge. Kobe 6, his most popular shoe of all time. Grinch, maybe the most popular Kobe of all time, depending on who you ask. Not our good friend, Mr. Darryl Glover, but
yes,
not his favorite. But he even says, to the kind of the casual Kobe collector, the Grinch is the most popular. You flip it. When I first saw that shoe, wasn't as hyped on it. The reds didn't look as bright as they did in the...
they're vibrant IRL.
No, but in the early samples, you're just like, what is it about it? We saw the shoe on foot at Tony Finau at ComplexCon doing this show, and you know what? It looked good. You're going to see it NBA
everywhere.
24/7, kids, collectors, etc. are all going to be hyped on it. So there it is.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm cool with this. I think... Do you think anyone likes the reverse better than the regular one?
That's sacrilege. If anybody does, they're not going to say
I've seen
it.
People, okay. I've seen people doing the mix match, and I kind of already hate
really?
it. Really?
One left, one right?
I'm so colorblind, they wouldn't make a difference to me.
You know what? You know why I'm happy that this shoe's on the list is because we could have racked our brains and come up with some sort of like hot sneaker collaboration that not many people got.
Yeah, some cool critical choice.
And that could have been there, and people would have argued about it, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes it's nice just to do the easy work and take something non-controversial that you know is going to be big and just throw a fast ball down the middle, and that's what this shoe is.
I know what you mean, but I think sometimes we rely a little bit too much on these lists and in sneakers as a whole on consensus versus actual taste or being critical, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Cool.
Number 5.
Number 5.
On our Sneaker of the Year list. Joe, do you have a pair of these? J Balvin Jordan 3?
I do.
The white?
I do. Shouts to J Balvin. He sent that whole package. Appreciate that. Listen, this was another shoe that I feel like the crowd in the panel was okay with. It ended up number 5 on our final list. It was also number 5 on the list that went into ComplexCon. So it kind of stayed where we thought it was in the beginning of the process and at the end.
Well, I think overall it's a good shoe. J Balvin, his Jordan 1s, I think were pretty well received.
Big.
Kind of, it was like, but it was also like a love it or hate it sort of shoe in the sense that.
But it was a moment. It was a moment.
I'm just saying it was love it or hate it in the sense that that shoe is so bright and out there that some people love it and some people are like, I could never wear it.
Two?
I feel like this one is just kind of almost like I don't want to say like a paint by numbers, but it's J Balvin, big collaborator, Air Jordan 3.
Just makes sense.
Yeah, it's not.
Super clean.
They didn't do too much to it, but they reimagined literally the heel logo, and I feel like every time that they do an Air Jordan 3 where they redo the Jumpman logo on the back into some sort of custom logo, it's a big deal. So
yeah, but Welty, you skipped over the 2.
That shoe was not great.
Well, it wasn't received like the 1 at all. I feel like the 2 kind of came and went a little bit.
For sure.
And to be honest, guys, when you have like one down or one shoe that kind of comes and goes, the pressure is on for the next one, and I think this one was very well received, which I thought was really good for Balvin because the two.
Well, it's also it's a 2, but it's a
exactly, and that's the other thing. The other thing, the 2 is a tough sell, but I think for him to come back in his third collaboration with this, that I would say is pretty close to universally. Not I wouldn't say loved, but like this is a good shoe.
Celebrated.
I think that it makes sense at number 5.
But it's J Balvin, right? Where it's a very big collaborator in the sense that if you're not as big of a collaborator and you have a dud, maybe it's over for you or like a little bit of interest starts to leave. But when you're that big of a superstar, I feel like you get a little bit of leeway or grace on not having such a popular collaboration in the lineup.
Sure.
You know, where it's like your name is still going to ring bells. That shoe done by guest of the show, Frank Cook, who had his hand on a lot of hype Air Jordan stuff throughout the years. Kind of makes sense that they cooked up literally another hype Air Jordan. So,
Joe, do you think this is J Balvin's best Jordan collaboration yet?
I like the 1 better.
Okay, you're still on the 1.
I think this is his best, bar none.
I like the 1 because I think aesthetically this may be the best one, but I love that the 1 he came out, first collaboration, took, I would say it was risky, all those colors and that I give that a lot of props, and I think like that's why, and with the mix and match kind of like buttons on it and stuff like that. So I think the one is my favorite, but I thought this was a very, very solid shoe. Hopefully the black ones drop. You know I'm signed up for those.
Remember Scottie Pippen sitting next to us on the full size run couch wearing a pair of size 16 J Balvin ones.
Quite an absurd looking shoe on foot. Okay, number 4 on our list.
It was met with what you guys said. It was met
I feel
with
like this shoe could have. If you want to say that Travis Scott could have came off the list, I feel like this shoe could have came off the list.
Disagree.
And the universe would have been fine.
Thank you, Welty.
No, I disagree. But
maybe
listen, number 4.
Maybe I'm out of touch, but again, I think it's the children who are out of touch.
Say it.
The Tiffany Nike Air Force One, a shoe I've been hating on all year.
Good. It should be.
Let me ask you guys. I wasn't in the last meeting about this final list. Was there any other talk on this, or just the usual talk that we've been saying over the past year, where some people think it was too simple? You guys. Some people think it was fine.
I think we all just felt defeated and we just said whatever. I think we just said whatever.
Okay.
Like,
no.
I feel like we all just rolled over like a dead
Welty
dog
and I were tired of fighting the fight. Joe, can you campaign for this sneaker here? I feel like you like it in a way that Welty and I don't. Welty and I don't like it at all.
Tell us why this is such a good shoe besides the fact that it's a black hype Air Force One. Go.
Okay, here's what I would say for me. I love the Tiffany colorway in general. You guys know that. Now, this isn't an all Tiffany colorway because I do not like the Friends and Family.
That shoe is cheeks.
This one is way better to me than the Friends and Family.
Sure.
I like black suede Air Force Ones. When PG posted those Amon Manier Air Force Ones,
suede Air Foamposite ones too. Don't forget.
But Joe, I said, give us a campaign on the shoe that doesn't involve you liking black sneakers.
Big collaboration, a lot of hype. It was discussed on the panel. There was a lot of hype,
but a lot of negativity too.
Polarizing for sure. I think a project. I love to see Carmelo in the.
They should have led with Melo.
I thought that was awesome.
That, to me alone, isn't a reasoning enough to make it that high. Like the fact that Carmelo Anthony was, which is cool,
just saying, listen,
but it's just not a reason to make this thing a top 4 shoe of the year.
I'm just saying things that I liked about it. Maybe this is one where it is too high, but I definitely don't agree with you guys that it should not have been on the list. 4, I do think anytime you get into the top 5, it should be as undebatable as possible. I could see that. But for me, this is in my top 5. It always has been. And we could agree to disagree. We have been for the past year.
Yeah, I just think there was so much corny about the shoe, especially the Alexander Arnault courtside photo. Nothing will erase that in my memory.
How tight were those shoes?
Not tight enough. This is a big sneaker. This is one of those ones where it's a big shoe. And again,
it's too big to fail. And I hate shoes that are too big to fail to some degree. When it comes to collaborations, where it's like people in Nike are be like, hey, if we put these two things together, no matter what we do, whether we make it good or bad, it's still going to get the same reaction out of it that we're hoping for. So we're almost like mailing it in to some degree.
I don't know. It's one of those ones too where like you have to look. We don't use this as the ultimate barometer, but we do use this sometimes to gauge how well a shoe is received. It's like the resale market where like people are paying a lot of money for these. A lot of people want these, so that tells us that this is a big shoe to an extent.
Yes,
I feel like it's really hard to gauge the resale value on this because the shoe does sell for over $1,000, and not a lot of shoes do anymore. There was a day and age pandemic era, if a shoe went over $1,000, it meant it was a hot shoe, right? But I feel like it's really hard to be like, this shoe's $1,000, that means it's hot, because number one, the retail for that shoe wasn't it $350, right?
3 or 4.
Yeah. I think it was 400. The retail of that shoe is $400. And it's a luxury brand. So the retail price is already super high on it, and then you add in the fact that it's targeting a consumer that's willing to pay a lot of money for stuff because it's like like throwing like Louis Vuitton, Dior, etc. on it, where it's not just a general Nike product where people say, hey, I really like this, it's hype, I'm going to spend a ton of money on it. I feel like that naturally inflates it to a point.
Listen, Welty tried to put me on the spot to plead my case about this. Can we just say you guys Is this not a quintessential,
big JLP shoe?
It is a big JLP shoe.
It is. It is.
Okay. That's why it's on my personal top.
What's a more, where would you put higher on your personal list, though? A Cold Wall Air Max Pluses or Tiffany Air Force Ones?
We're rocking with Dr. Samuel Ross.
No, you spoiled it because a Cold Wall was going to be the one that was one of my personal favorites. That's not on the list.
I'll say one more thing about the Tiffany Air Force Ones, because again, I don't like to defend the shoe. I don't like the shoe, but it's a relatively inoffensive, big collaboration that a lot of people still went out and tried to buy to a level that wasn't the case for a lot of the other shoes on this list. It probably had a lot more interest on the sneakers app or wherever they launched it, way more people trying to buy that shoe. And that's something that we don't want to ignore. We don't want to ignore if there's a huge sneaker that is aimed at us, sneaker collectors, sneaker nerds. If there's a huge shoe that is performing well in the secondary market, that has interest before and after it releases, we can't just ignore that. As much as I would like to ignore the shoe, but maybe after this podcast, we can just never talk about the shoe again. Can we do that?
We'll see.
I should be so lucky.
Good defense, though.
I don't think.
I hate to defend it.
I'm gonna get hate for this, but I'm just gonna say it anyways. I think a Tiffany Air Force One is the sort of shoe that, even though it is a hype shoe, it's a rare shoe, etc. I don't think that I'd ever come across someone wearing a pair of Tiffany Air Force Ones and think, wow, that person's really into sneakers. They're going to have something interesting to say.
I love that we got the most Matt Welty possible comment at the buzzer at the very end of the very last episode of the year. We can even go quickly through our top three because this should be pretty unanimous. Cortez, Nike Air Max 95, number 3.
People liked it on the panel. We loved it.
I wouldn't say feathers ruffled on it, but it was like the shoe that maybe people weren't expecting in the top 3.
This one is so solid.
Right,
just a classic Air Max collaboration.
Solid.
We don't have enough of those right now. People aren't paying enough attention to those classic Air Maxes.
Also wears very well. Look at the screen. I've been wearing these a ton.
Can't relate. I don't have a pair.
D-Matt, they look pretty crisp still, right? Look at it.
No, those look cooked.
Do they?
They might have needed to use the Fat Joe leather on them, the Terror Squad leather. Different
Damn,
set of cows,
I was wrong.
I think those shoes are great.
I've been clocking a lot of steps in them, so if they're cooked, they don't look cooked looking at them down, but maybe close up. But I've been clocking a ton of miles.
I think they look great. 3 colorways, all good. I actually like the green pair the most. Reminds me of the Monster Air Max 95s.
Yes,
the hype around the shoe was real. They did it at the release at the Bodega. There was the release in France where people were on top of the tourist bus.
People going wild for sneakers in real life is something I want to see, and I think so much about the rollout around shoes, and when you can create real life frenzy, especially for a brand like Cortez that is relatively new, relatively young, to have people come out and flood the streets like this, beautiful.
Yeah, I think that seeing that something that wasn't necessarily a home run for Nike, that's where sometimes with Nike I get a little like frustrated, where it's just like a Ben and Jerry's or Dior or Tiffany, where
too obvious.
Yeah, you're like, oh, we know this shoe's going to be big.
Biggest possible partner.
Yeah, big before we even make it. It feels a little boring that's why I just don't get excited for it. But Cortez, it's like you're taking a chance on it where you don't know if it's going to be big or not, and then it happens to be big. I feel like those are the moments worth celebrating.
Awesome. Can we go quick through the top 2?
I feel like these are easy.
Air Jordan 3 reimagined as our number 2 sneaker of the year. Yes, it's a retro.
Controversial shoe.
Controversial shoe, how?
The quality control.
Yeah. I think the quality control issues dinged it a little bit, but still a beautiful sneaker if you've got a pair that didn't have the elephant print fucked up.
The mismatch.
Yeah. But those, I think, are minor marks against it. I think this is still one of the best sneakers of all time. Still a beautiful shoe whenever they do the retro right. It has Nike Air on the back. The faux aging, I could take it or leave it, but it helps it feel different because we need that sometimes when it's a shoe you've seen over and over again. I'm glad to finally own a pair of Air Jordan 3s with Nike Air on the back in the white cement colorway. Never had the 88s before.
Although funny to find them pop up at Ross this week.
Yeah, the gigantic sizes, right?
Size 17 and 18,
did y'all
that was
to your
funny.
Local Rosses to look for a pair?
I didn't, but they were popping up for sure around the country.
This is
big
one of those
sizes
shoes that you just can't really be mad at. Although I'm mad at myself for getting a 10.5 because I'm of course a true 10.
Is the leather toe box a little?
I haven't worn them yet.
There's a little more tumbled in the leather than normal.
I haven't worn them yet, but beautiful shoe.
I wore them.
Yeah,
I wore Air Jordan 3s. Yeah, of course I wore them on the show.
Oh, sorry, I don't remember. I believe you. I just don't remember.
We'll check the tape.
Do we need to say anything more about the shoe other than Joe's not going to wear it because it's white, but he still loves it?
I don't think so. Perfectly
Joe,
put.
what would you rather wear?
The important questions.
Air Jordan White Cement Reimagines or the upcoming awful Bred 4s with the leather?
Putting him on the spot once again.
I'm not saying it's a better shoe by any stretch. I would be more likely to wear the black leather Breds, though. I think just because Bred 4s, just
leather
because
pants?
It's an all leather jacket from rooter to tutor.
That's nasty work.
Number 1 sneaker of the year? Nike SB Air Jordan 4.
We rushed through this on the panel because we ran out of time.
But we also,
This should be unanimous, right? People agree on this, right?
I think so.
It's funny because beforehand, it was like a shoe that the lead up to it, no one thought that this was going to be the end all be all.
Yes.
Like it was, because I feel like there was so much working against the shoe to some degree where everyone was super hyped on the project, Joe LaPuma included, when he thought it was a triple black Air Jordan 4 when he saw
Done. What are your sources saying? Any update on that?
I still have no information about a
when
possible
you saw Costin and P-Rod
coming.
wearing it. Then we find out that it's going to be a white and green shoe, and everyone's like, "What the heck? Like, I don't want that."
Yeah.
Then you find out there's a gum sole on it, and then you find out the shoes.
Now we're coming around.
You find out there's some red hits on it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then
now you got my attention.
They bring back that classic Nike SB Energy, skate shop releases, having to buy non-dunk SBs at Nike to get access to the shoes.
On the sneakers app, right?
Yeah.
And how they rebuilt the shoe a bit to be better,
more comfortable,
suited for skaters. The whole SB Sandy Bodecker historic, a little historical connection like that.
Yeah.
Is enough for me. Not enough to make it a top 10 shoe of the year, but enough to make something special. This is such a rich shoe.
Did Meek Mill make it top 10?
Oh, I don't know, that viral clip. But also Alyssa Steamer coming on the podcast and letting it be known that 2 years that Nike SB skaters were wear testing them. That did a lot for me. We talked about the story.
Exactly.
We talked about the
knowing
Jerry
what
Lorenzo
went into the shoe.
Yep.
We talked about the Adelaide a couple weeks ago, but Alyssa saying that, and that they wear tested them, and they took the same
feedback,
aesthetic of the Jordan 4, beefed up the technical details. You had Costin, P-Rod wear testing them for 2 years. Do this. Don't do that. Put a little something here. You're right, Dave? Bless you. Put a little something over here. Take a little bit out of the tongue here. That means something.
Incredible. Hats off to Jordan
Number
Brand.
1.
Hats off to Nike SB. I hope people agree with us. If not, we will look at the comments. So let us know if you still think the list is a little bit off. We're happy, but there's so much more to talk about.
Let us know this list, how you guys feel, how.
But we're not making any more changes, regardless.
No, this is it.
Unless we can take the Tiffany
I've been through.
There.
Jimmy Butler in the finals when he was over the tired over the bench. We'll put the Getty in. That's how I feel with these ComplexCon Sneaker of the Year lists. So this is it, the final list.
Okay, what should we should we talk about very briefly our favorite sneakers of the year? I don't think we need a number, but
I only have like 2, kind of. I
it.
got the blue Air Max, a cold wall TNs.
And Cortez 95s.
Cortez 95s are on the list. Here's the other one. Coincidentally, these are both TNs Air Max Plus.
Yes.
I got the Barcelona Prada ones on my list as well.
I'm right there with you, Joe.
Okay, I love those. I'm not saying that they were a top 3 for me, but they're in my top 10 for sure, and they didn't come up on our list. Same with a cold wall, the black one, the blue one, and it's been a big Air Max year for me, personal, wearing a ton of Air Max 95s, but these Air Max Pluses also.
Yeah, I'm in on the Air Max Plus moment with you. I'm loving TNs right now, so Prada TNs are on my picks for personal favorites. I'll always remember where I was when I first saw the photo of the shoes, and it always endears me more to a shoe when I'm able to interview people who are involved in it and really understand the history.
Yes.
And that helped me out with this sneaker, and I came to love it even more. Go read the piece that I wrote about it. But even before that, just off of seeing one JPEG, I was like, this is a hot shoe. This shoe is hard regardless of what the story on it is. So Prada TNs are big for me. Terra Squad Air Force Ones are big for me. And that's another shoe that I wrote about, and it helped endear me to them. Cortez 95s I really love. I don't have a pair of those. That's probably my biggest like miss from this year is not getting the Cortez 95s. Also Ramelzi Dunk. I got a pair of the Supreme Ramelzi Dunks.
Okay.
Thank you to the person who helped me out with those. I wish those were bigger. I wish more people cared about them, but
didn't connect.
That's fine. Welty, how about you? Personal favorites?
The one shoe, still haven't gotten a pair. 991 V2.
You love it.
Made in UK. I love that shoe. I cannot wait till I get it on my foot, and then I will be truly
also co-signed by
in love with it.
Co-signed by
Action Bronson.
And
Anders Holm.
Every time you tweet about it, Welty.
Who?
One Mr. Aaron Feig, Ronnie.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't see all of his tweets.
Yes. There we go. Every time he tweets about it, Ronnie replies.
Top 5 shoe of the year.
Got
Ronnie said. Also, obviously, Bronson. I will put that up there as one of my favorite shoes of the year. And a few other shoes. A6 1130, highs and lows. The white birch pair. Love those. And up there, 1906.
Nice.
Those are the shoes for me. I think a shoe that this year that came out that we forgot about.
Oh no! Do we have to do this whole thing over?
That came and went. That maybe would have predicted would have been a top 10 shoe of the year at the beginning of the year. It ended up not being a top 10 shoe of the year. Big Bubble Air Max 1s.
Yeah, we thought that was going to be a thing, but something about seeing them in person, the shape. I mean, I appreciate them going back to the archive, and it's again, you talk about being a sneaker nerd and them doing something to satisfy us specifically. That's that thing.
That was it, and it didn't
connect. But they got plenty more coming. They got the blue one coming next year.
Yep.
I have a pair. Still haven't worn them. Actually, you know what's funny? I wanted to do, and we spoke about this many months ago, but a flop 10 are the shoes that we felt totally missed the mark this year. I mean, to me, Tiffany Air Force One is one of them. Utopia Air Force One, Travis Scott having a white-on-white GR.
The signature,
Air Force One with lasering on the side.
That was more merch, but okay.
The reimagined Jordan 1 is on my flop 10.
Oh, that's an awful shoe.
Black and blue. Nobody cares about those. Actually, it's funny. A lot of Air Force Ones in here. This is a little bit in the same vein as the Utopia, but did actually make some more changes. But the Elix Air Force One.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about that.
Damn, I looked for the black one.
You really?
Not going to lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get it. But
good. I'm glad. And that's a funny one because I remember there was a photo circulating in January, I think, of Matthew Williams wearing an early version of the shoe. And he had responded to an Instagram commenter being like,
oh, he got fried because they were cooked.
Well, I think more people were complaining that it didn't look like enough of a change to the sneaker to be a real collab. And I think sometimes it's fine to be subtle on these things, but he was like, oh, it's a work in progress prototype. And he also said it's easy to do a lot, make things crazy and loud. It's more difficult to reduce to make something timeless, especially after when we were touching. Yeah. But
nobody cares. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you still didn't make a shoe that was remotely interesting. Honestly, maybe I'm just being a hater, but Powerpuff SB Dunks are kind of on my flop 10 as well. But
the video for that, 10 times cooler than the shoes.
The rollout video?
Yeah.
That's not enough.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
You can't see Matt Welty wearing those in New Hampshire over break.
No, you see me in some pink Nike SB Dunks. Yep.
Anything y'all want to throw on the flop 10, or am I going out as a hater by myself here?
No, I just didn't think of the list.
Welty?
I mean, I already just said the Big Bubble Air Max ones.
Yeah.
Positive vibes only from this side?
Rare.
Wait, that's it, huh?
That's it. End of the year.
End of the year. It's another. We made it through another year.
Still alive.
Still employed.
We're off for several weeks. Some of us are traveling out of the country. Some of us are going to New England. Some of us are going to Bayshore. What a year. I feel like we ended strong with the Action Bronson episode and this episode. But the great thing is there's all these episodes for everyone to binge on YouTube or audio over break. Make sure you guys catch up on everything. We're off for several weeks, but we're going to come back 2024 stronger than ever. We appreciate everyone watching, everyone listening. That's it, guys. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
Happy holidays. We will see everyone in a few weeks.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.